When we left off, we were exploring Bahia Huevos in northern Costa Rica.
Where are we going?
Up a river where you thought it'd be smart to paddleboard on an inflatable paddleboard with crocodiles. I'm not happy to be paddling there in a dinghy. They better be bloody small.
They're not like Australian crocs. It even says they're not aggressive towards humans.
They're not aggressive?
Well, unless you're flailing around.
Unless you're in their area.
I don't think if you just row by in a boat, they'll come up and attack you.
It's a crocodile. That's what they do.
This is where I got to on the paddleboard yesterday, and I did see a crocodile. He's a little guy, maybe like 3 or 4 feet. I looked at him for a little bit, and then I turned around. I didn't paddleboard with him for too long.
Look at that. It's funny to see them perched in a tree like that. Look then. Look. It's hilarious.
Time to look for a crocodile. See if we can find one.
At the far end of Bahia Huevos in northern Costa Rica, we made our way up the channel, leaving the sea behind and entering the jungle-like estuary, excited to see what we would find.
These roots are crazy. It's like a big tangle of these little thin roots, and they kind of slowly build up to this giant tree. It's pretty cool looking.
Although we didn't seem to be having any luck with the crocodiles or caiman, there were countless birds to watch and listen to.
Sounds of the Costa Rican jungle.
Very loud.
We were unsuccessful with another crocodile sighting, but it was nice to spend time taking in the spectacular natural world before we headed to the busy tourist areas further south.
Here we are in Playas del Cocos. This is our first official port of entry for Costa Rica. Even though we spent some time on our way down here, this is the first port where we can do check-in procedures. And that turquoise or aqua blue building behind us is the port captain's office. Hillary's in there now, just finishing up some of our paperwork. We started there, then we had to give them one copy of our boat paperwork. Then we went and found immigration. Gave them a copy of our passports for that place there. No charge at either so far. Now we had to come back here to the port captains again to do a bit more stuff. We may have to do something with aduana, which is Spanish for customs, and they may come out here, or we may have to go into Liberia to the big international airport there. We're not quite sure on that yet. Hillary's going to try and sweet talk them. We've heard sometimes they'll come out here, so maybe we can delay that and have them meet us out here, because it's like a 40-minute ride each way to get to customs. But yeah, we're going to spend a day or so here, get some provisioning done up, and then we're going to move on out of town, down to some of the nice little beaches.
Alright, we're done with the port captain, and now we get to go to aduana customs at the airport.
Really? There's no way around that?
Yeah, she's like, no, they don't come out.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a bit of a day there. It's 40 minutes each way, so I guess we go do that now, maybe get a bit of food first.
Get on the bus, yeah.
Okay, we'll let you know how it goes.
Gonna catch that bus that's coming right there, headed to the Liberia airport to go to customs and finish our check-in.
Playa del Coco, Costa Rica. This is the official entry port, right?
Yeah, the
first one
northern...
if you're coming north to south.
Yep.
It's the first place you can get checked in, and yesterday was about an 8-hour day checking in for us because we had to take a long bus ride into the airport to do our customs and our entry permit for the boat. All went pretty well. It was just waiting for people. They're all busy at the airport there, so we had to wait for the customs officials. But now we're checked in. There's a lot of charter boats around here.
Playa del Coco here is a pretty popular vacation spot. It's really close to the Liberia airport, just about a half an hour away from that. So very big vacation destination. Not necessarily a very big town, but lots of resorts spread out over the area here. Very large expat population, Americans, Canadians that actually live down here. Yeah.
Very nice homes.
As you can see behind me, there are a ton of boats in this bay. Pretty much all charter, fishing, excursion, sunset sail type boats. They go out to the various little bays around here. Very full bay in here.
Not a very large fishing community, I think. It seems so far that obviously Costa Rica is really sustained on tourism, whereas a lot of the other countries we've been to so far are not as developed and are a lot more to do with fishing to survive.
Yeah, here they take the tourists out fishing.
Located not far from an international airport, this was the start of the big resort and vacation areas in Costa Rica. It had been a long time since we had been somewhere with so many tourists and so much English spoken, and it was a bit of a culture shock. With no flat, calm spots along the beach here, it was a great time to practice landing the dinghy through a bit of surf.
Yep. Tell me when. Yeah. Yep.
2, 3. Yeah.
Okay.
It looks good. You can get in.
Oh wait. These look good, but we'll wait for a
Push it
slow
in.
one to come.
Yep, get in. It's good.
Happy winter solstice. Sun just set. Full moon's coming up over the hill.
We're checked out of, no, where did we go? Oh, we got our, well, we checked out of here. So
Yeah, we checked out of here. You have to get a ZARP to travel nationally within the country here. So we went to Port Captain's office and got that so we can leave here and head south soon.
So that's our official documentation that just says we're allowed to leave here and move on to the next port. We were going to head out of here today, but we got busy in town getting groceries and we know there's weather coming in. So we may leave tomorrow, we may wait a few days, we'll see. There is gale conditions just off the way here in the Gulf.
Yep, the Gulf of Papagayo, the Papagayo winds that blow across from the Caribbean are blowing really strong starting today.
Kind of at the southern end of that Gulf. It's more on the north side here, although it is still windy. We did get a nice weather warning from the captain's office here with the extreme weather. We may head down. We've got about a 10-mile journey where we want to go to our next location, but we'll decide that tomorrow.
See how we feel. See how the weather is. That moon looks pretty sweet over the hill. Right now we have some pretty strong winds blowing. It's pretty strong gusts. They're what's known as the Papagayo winds, which this is the Gulf of Papagayo out there. They're kind of like gap winds. Basically it's winds coming across from the Caribbean. It's kind of a flat area of land here and to the north of here where Lake Nicaragua is. And when there's strong winds in the Caribbean, a lot of times they'll funnel across, build up over land, and come out super strong over here. It's not uncommon for them to blow gale force and higher, and this is really well protected, but we're getting some pretty strong gusts coming down over the hill, so it's not too bad. But when we get hit by a really strong gust, it tends to be we get hit like side on and get blown really hard, so we're just heeling back and forth here at anchor. Just watch like the spray come off the water. It's pretty crazy.
With the strong winds, we decided to wait a day or two before heading out, keeping an eye on our anchor and snubber.
Going for an impromptu dive this morning, just for fun. Well, not just for fun. We're planning on leaving Cocos today, and we hold up our anchor chain. It is stuck on something down there, really good. Tried driving around it a few different times, that didn't seem to work, so getting the dive stuff on to go see what's down there.
Well, it's gusty, the winds have picked up again. It was very calm this morning, and we've been spinning around a lot last few days, probably with all this gusts. Our plan was to sail off anchor. We had the double reefed main up here, and then we found out we couldn't get up, so we're probably wrapped on an old mooring or something like that. Luckily, we filled the dive tanks a couple of days ago, so Hillary's going to go jump in and see if we can get free.
Pass me the tank, please.
Alright. Okay, I'll just drop it.
Yep. Okay, weight belt please.
Don't drop it.
Thank you.
Well, luckily, just by chance, a couple of days ago I decided to fill the dive tanks and test the compressor out, and the compressor's looking good, thankfully. It's back to working neat there. I do have to keep it topped up there just to make sure we don't get any condensation in the fuel tank. I think that's been a bit of a problem, and I sprayed a bunch of WD-40 over all the screws and stuff like that to keep the rust off. Still needs a bit of a clean. Hillary's going to go down. We've got the motor running here. We turn that on to try and circle around. We're going to see how we go, trying to free this up.
Alright.
So I'll give you like a couple of minutes to get down there maybe.
Yeah.
And then I'll try and kind of idle forward slowly. I'll probably let more chain out just to give plenty more slack. That way I don't have to motor as close to the thing.
Okay.
Down to Davy Jones. This part always makes me nervous. Anyway, I was saying it makes me nervous because I know Hillary sometimes, I feel like she doesn't pay enough attention to danger, and I'm probably over the top on worrying about all sorts of things. But I see a tank coming up, so that's good news. So we didn't have a great way to communicate here. I'm just trying to keep a bit of slack on the chain. We're only in about 9 meters of water here, but yeah, she's definitely coming up. Here she's about to surface now.
I'm good now.
You got it off?
Yeah, I should have brought a GoPro. It was pretty clear down there, actually.
I thought it might. Yeah, I forgot we should have had the GoPro.
So there are two things. There's like an old mooring, but that would have been easy. It was just like a giant concrete circle. And then there's a frickin' sunk upside down palmga. And the chain was underneath the corner.
Wow.
So there's no way we would have got it off by circling around. Like I had to it was stuck in a crack. I had to wedge it out.
Glad you were able to get it out.
Alright.
Very choppy behind us.
Yeah.
Well, we've been wanting to get out of Playas del Cocos, out of the big town kind of thing, but it's been pretty windy. It's still quite windy. I think we've got about 20 something knots, 20 to 25 knots kind of off our beam, behind our beam here. We've got the double reef on our main up and the staysail out, and we're only going 5 miles. We're going to go around the corner here and hopefully get a nice little spot. Hillary had to jump in the water with the dive tank this morning. Luckily we had those available to us because the chain was wrapped pretty big time.
Stuck really bad. We tried going every which way to get around it and couldn't. Got the dive gear on. When I got down to the bottom, there were a few things we were wrapped on. A couple of them would come off no problem. There was kind of an old mooring, a giant round cement block. That was pretty easy. But the second thing it was wrapped on was a sunken lancha, ponga, one of the small boats. It was upside down and the chain was underneath the corner of the boat and kind of like wedged up. There's a big crack up the side of the boat, so the only way we would have gotten that off from above is if we were strong enough to lift the lancha up, which our windlass is not. So good thing we had the dive gear. Went down, I was able to wedge it out, get it out from the under the corner of the boat, and yeah, we're free now.
Well guys, we want to say a huge thanks as always. Thanks for watching, thanks for taking the time to comment. Really appreciate it.
And if you enjoyed the video, please remember to give us a thumbs up and don't forget to hit the bell so you get notified of our new episodes.
As the sun sets behind us,
adios!
cheers guys!